Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 10th thematic session in our PhD tour this week on Earth and Space Sciences. This is quite an interesting field and quite a niche one for that matter as well, which we're quite glad to end the PhD tour with this as well. We've been very thankful to all our viewers this entire week for being with us on this PhD tour. And we're very glad to have made it possible here for everybody who's interested to do a PhD from India in France. So today's topic is Earth and Space Sciences, and we have a very interesting panel with us as well, present with us today. Earth and Space Sciences is very interesting because it's of mutual interest to both India and France. And both the countries share a very unique and interesting relationship because they have strong international cooperations and interesting research partnerships in place, which are influenced by lots of interesting factors as well. So we also have these partnerships at a political or a cultural, and even in a person-to-person exchange level as well. There are strong institutions that work towards the benefit of these two research areas as well, which are strongly present both in France and India. And the whole idea behind our today's session is not only to bring out the interesting themes from strong participants we have from different doctoral schools in France, but also to sort of bring out the entire theme, how this industry and how the entire theme of Earth and Space Sciences works in both the countries. And if a student is interested to pursue a PhD or apply for one, how should they go about it? We have a very interesting panel, so I'll introduce our fellow participants today, and then we can start the session across. First, we have Dr. Laurence Vidal with us today from Aix-Marseille University, who is also the Deputy Director for the Doctoral School for Environmental Sciences. And we're very happy to have Dr. Laurence Vidal here with us today. Welcome, Doctor. Next, we have Dr. Jerome Van Der Waant from University of Strasbourg, specifically the Institut de Physique du Globe de Strasbourg. Who's also a researcher there as well, and as well as the head of the doctoral school. Welcome, Dr. Jerome on board.
Hello.
Next, we have Dr. Franck Plunier with us, who is the director of Doctoral School for Earth, Planetary and Environmental Sciences, and a professor as well at Universiite Grenoble-Alpes. Welcome to the session, Doctor.
Thank you. Hello.
And to bring you a very interesting insight from someone who's actually been to France, we have a very interesting alumnus with us today as well. So we have Dr. Unmesh Khati with us as well, who was a Raman Charpak Fellowship holder and was also a visiting researcher at the University of Rennes 1 in France. Who's currently in California, United States, and he is a postdoctoral scholar. Welcome so much, Unmesh.
Hi, hello.
I also have my colleague, Ms. Anupama Ambika, with me as well, who is the Deputy Attaché for Scientific and University Cooperation in South India. She's based in Bangalore. So, Anupama, welcome to the session.
Thank you, Rajit.
All right, so just to start with the field, Ambika, could you brief us a bit about Earth and Space Sciences, its relevance and prominence, so that we can make way for the professors to lead ahead?
Sure. Thank you, Rajit, and good evening, everyone. I'm Ambika. I'm the Deputy Attaché for Scientific and University Cooperation, and I work here out of Bangalore with the Attaché, Dr. Francois Xavier, and together we manage the south of India. So this is the last one of the 10 webinars of the PhD tours that we've had. And for me personally, this is one of the most exciting topics to have a discussion on, because of several reasons, one of them being that the Indo-French relationship in Earth and space sciences is spread over different facets of technology and applications, ranging from rocket development to satellite launches to having extensive studies on underground water. The international cooperation is a strategic area for a space program because relationships with other countries are influenced by political, economic, cultural, and human personality factors, as well as scientific and technological factors. So India has always recognized that space has dimension beyond national considerations, which can only be addressed along with international partners, and the scope for cooperation has become multifaceted. While exploratory missions beyond the Earth are the natural candidates for such cooperative efforts, there are many other themes like climate change impacts on Earth, space science, and planetary exploration that are of interest to international cooperation because of their global impact. Perfect examples of such kind of development are the joint satellite missions like Megatropics and Saril, thanks to the long-lasting collaboration between ISRO and CNES, the National Space Agency of France. In the past, we've had several Indo-French labs in earth sciences, Indo-French water network, and the ongoing research programs in the water cell at the Indian Institute of Science, to name a few of these commendable collaborations. I think I've given all of you sufficient reasons to be associated with France, particularly right from the stage of your PhD, to facilitate and improve and be good add-ons to these collaborations. This will not only create humongous job and collaborative opportunities for you to advance in your career, but you will also make your country proud by doing so. I'm sure after our panel discussion by our eminent panelists, all of you will be equally convinced as I am now. Another aspect I would like to discuss with you today is the general application process of PhD in France, because we've been receiving a lot of questions about this throughout our webinar. So let me make it clear right from the start. So typically a PhD in France is around 3 years, and it's extendable to 1 more year, contrary to the 5+ years of PhD in India. And of course, you need a master's degree for your PhD and also funding. So if you're not supported by fellowships, you could actually be funded by the host university with a contract of 3 years. And you can go to the university websites and find out this information. So now, before enrolling into a PhD program, you need to find a thesis supervisor and a topic. You can do it so by 2 means. One is directly contacting the PI, the thesis supervisor, and sending him or her your CV and a statement of purpose. Or you can use different portals for finding ads on PhD programs. So these portals, the links to these portals will be put in the Q&A box towards the closure of this seminar. And so I would also like to highlight the fact that from the embassy side, we offer short-term fellowships for students doing PhD in India for about a stint for 10 months through Raman Sharpak Fellowship. Alternately, you can also do a PhD in France through the bilateral agreement between the Indo-French labs via the CEFIPRA projects. So that's all from my end for today. Have a fantastic tour with your brilliant panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambika. That was fabulous and an excellent introduction to Earth and Space Sciences. To kickstart this session, let's hear from Dr. Laurence Vidal first, who can tell us a bit more about Aix-Marseille University and her role as the Deputy Director there. So it's your microphone that's on mute. If you can unmute it as well, please.
Okay. Can you see my presentation? Sorry.
Yes, of course. Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay. So at Aix-Marseille University, we have a 12 doctoral school, and I will present you the doctoral school Environmental Sciences. So we propose research and training in sciences concerned by environmental issues. Of course, this doctoral school is by definition transdisciplinary. It crosses classical disciplinary approaches to better understand environmental challenges, from global changes with natural and also anthropic origin to sustainable management of resources and waste. So it's a very large domain which offer a lot of topics about environmental sciences. So what is the role of the doctoral school? Of course, is to provide a favorable framework for doctoral research, promote to the doctoral student multidisciplinary culture, also promote and offer training to improve the doctoral students' portfolio of skills for their professional career, beside, I would say, the research work. Of course, we would like to ensure the quality of the thesis work. We also organize scientific and inter exchanges between doctoral students. And as it was already mentioned, we can offer thesis fundings. A few words from our PhD program. So we have about 190 students in our doctoral school, and about 50 new students each year. During their PhD, students have to follow a mandatory training of 100 hours. And this training has to be approved by the doctoral school. And there is also now mandatory to have a yearly meeting with the PhD committee, which is different from the PhD supervisor. The mean duration of the thesis is 36 months. And fellowships can be obtained from the university, but also through partnerships with private company, within some research project and other private funds, or through embassy, or through cooperation project like CEFIPRA, for example. So the main scientific areas of our doctoral school are listed here. So we propose a PhD program in earth sciences, oceanography, ecology, environmental chemistry, process engineering, anthropology, and impact on health. And today I will present you the topic dealing with earth sciences. And for this, I will present you the main specificity and characteristic of a laboratory that welcome all the PhD students having their doctoral studies in earth science. So the laboratory is CEREJ. You have some indication here how to find the website. So, CEREJ, Centre européen de recherche et d'enseignement des géosciences de l'environnement. Well, it's a very long title. We are dealing mainly with environmental geosciences. We are about 240 persons in the lab, about 140 permanent researcher, lecturer, and technical staff, and about 90 non-permanent staff with the doctoral student, postdocs, and project and non-permanent person on contracts. So we are depending from the university, Aix-Marseille University, but also from CNRS, IRD, Collège de France, and INRAE, which all are public institutions funding research in France. So I will be quick. I will perhaps not mention all the slides, but the research at CEREJ is mainly focused on processes acting on the Earth's surface with natural and/or anthropic origin. One of the specificity and strengths of our lab is our analytical facilities. We have access to accelerator mass spectrometry, to different type of mass spectrometer, and for example also to 3D imaging systems. We have 4 research groups working on these topics. One of them is the Earth and Planet group, dealing with Earth surface processes, tectonics, geochronology, Earth's magnetic field. The main tools that are used in this team are the accelerated mass spectrometry on cosmogenic isotopes, but also rock magnetics and many others in geophysics. There is also the climate research group. The specificity on this climate group is to work on climate change on different timescales, past, present, and future, working on climate archive in order to reconstruct paleo systems like paleo monsoon, paleo ENSO, and paleo oceanic circulation. But we are also working on present climate change, and also working on future climate change with using modeling, numerical climate modeling. Two other groups working on sustainable environment. Their main topic are dealing with biochemical cycle and fate elements, reactivity of nanometric phases, and also very involved in innovation for the environment. Their main tools are synchrotron analysis, 2D and 3D X-ray imaging, elemental chemistry, and they are very performant using colloid labs. And the last group works on resources, reservoir, and hydrosystem. On topics concerning global carbonate system, water resource, and hydrogeology, and flux at the interfaces. Their main tools are the use of water isotopes, modeling, and geophysics. At the CEREJ, we have also a teaching activity in earth science and environmental management. I mention this point because this can also be an entering point before a master studies to come over in France for an internship, for example, for an internship for a master thesis, and after having the possibility to apply for a PhD thesis. So here the contact person, I leave it here, and I already sent you the presentation that you can share it on the network. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marie-Odile. This was an excellent presentation, and I'm sure the contacts will be useful because a lot of PhD students who are very keen to do something in France they'll find it very useful. Thank you so much. We can proceed ahead. We have also with us today Dr. Jerome Van Der Waant. Dr. Jerome, can you please tell us a bit about your doctoral school and the kind of work and programs that you offer?
Yes, so let me share my presentation. So, attends, now I cannot see. How do I do? Partager. Voilà. Voilà. Excuse me. Ah, it's coming. Voilà.
Perfect. Nice.
Édition, affichage, mode lecture, I guess. Is that okay now?
Yes, it's excellent. Please go ahead.
Okay, so here you can see my name again. So I'm both researcher and head of the doctoral school. So I will first speak about research first and then about the doctoral school. So my presentation will be in two parts. So in fact, in the University of Strasbourg, at present, there are two research units in earth sciences. You can see them here on the top of the the slide, the LIGES on one side and IPGS on the other side, with the main focus. One institute is more centered on soil and water resources and on geochemistry and hydrology. The other institute is more about geophysics, but not strictly geophysics. Okay, and so the goal is to unite these two institutes starting January 2021, and so will be a large Geoscience and Environment Institute in Strasbourg starting next year. So both these institutes are associated to an engineering school, which is Ecole et Observatoire des Sciences de la Terre, which is imbricated with the research units. So this is just to show this new institute will have different focus that you can see here. I will not read everything. You will find this later on if you want. I will go from problem linked to resources, to risk, to continental dynamics, to tectonics, earthquakes, etc., etc. So it's a multidisciplinary institute that will start next year. So I'm not going too much in the details of what we do and what we can do. I think if you want to start a PhD in France, you have to be curious and look into the websites and ask and look for information. And so I just will continue on describing three entries where you can contact and see what's going on. And so it has been said before, but yeah, the first way to have a PhD project is to find an advisor, and so you have to contact the research teams or the researchers individually. I mean, this is an important step, and it's quite easy to do, and usually people respond. The second step is via the departments of the university, and then the next way is via the doctoral school. So here again, the main website's address for the two institutes. Again, it will change next year, but it will take time before we have a new website. So you have time to contact this one first. And again, you have to pick up the researcher in your field of interest. If you want to do chemistry, you have to address to somebody who is doing chemistry, or you have to explain if you want, or if you are a chemist and you want to do something in geology, then you have to explain why you change focus, or why is it interesting for geologists to have some chemist. And so again, you have to have already a little bit of project. And so when I receive, as a head of doctoral school, but also as a researcher, we receive a lot of mails, and sometimes it's just a sentence. We have the name and a sentence saying, "I'd like to do a PhD. Can you say me how I should do?" Let me tell you that these emails are not responded. Okay, you have to send your curriculum and a letter of motivation. That's the minimum step. And once we have these, yes, then we can say, oh no, this is not for me, it's for my colleague, or it's for the next institute, and we can send it away or in the right box. So again, voilà, I'm not speaking too much here. So the next step, the next way to go into our institutes is via the Earth Science Department of the University of Strasbourg. You have the address here, and I just pointed again the two arrows here in red and orange, where you can have the link towards the research institutes and the doctoral school, but also to many other kind of information that would be useful if you have a PhD project in these institutes. So the doctoral school in Strasbourg, the Earth and Environment, Environmental Science Doctoral School is one of the 10 doctoral schools of the University of Strasbourg. It's not very big. It's really focused on these topics. It has 80 PhD students totally. And it's currently linked to the 2 institutes I presented before, in addition to a geographic institute, okay, which is included in this doctoral school. You can see the picture here is what we call the Collège Doctoral in Strasbourg. It's a place where all the doctoral schools have an office, and where also PhD students from our international program can find some lodging and resources. So just to make it quickly, half of the PhD students in this doctoral school are coming from abroad, from all over the world, but unfortunately, up to now, I don't think from India. So I think we may change this in the near future. Here you can see all the countries that are represented at the doctoral school. So maybe in the next year we'll change it with India. So it has been told also already before, but I just repeat here. So for admission for PhD students, there are 3 steps, but there are many steps, but at least 3. The first one is yes, it's to be in the 5th year of university training, and I think in India it's what will be the Master of Engineering or the Master of Technology or MTech, usually which are the equivalent of Masters 2. It is not comment dire, having a Master's 2 from any other university is always better, but it's not the only way. So there can be some exemption, but it has to be prepared in advance. So the second thing which is important is to have a project, and for this you need an advisor, and when this is already existing, yes, then you need some funding. And funding, there are many sources, but yeah, it depends on the project, it depends from where you're coming and so on. And so this has to be prepared, but no PhDs are allowed without salary. And so the third step is to, it's to usually, okay, PhD students hold a Master's 2 from a French university, but when this is not the case, then you have to file an exemption application. And this has to be done largely ahead the start of the PhD, and so this can be done. And so for this, you need to have a transcription of your grades. You have to join some publication or some report that you have already done. You need support letter from your future PhD advisor, but also support letters from referees from before. So just some information. So so it's not in our doctoral school, but in some other doctoral school of Strasbourg. Some joint degrees exist between the University of Strasbourg and other institutes in India. So, but this is I just mentioned this, but it's also really in the start, because in fact it's the first co-tutelle agreement will be signed this year, which is for me surprising, but it's a fact. But it's a good I mean, it's a good news that this is starting, and the fact that we have already one, even if it's not your institute, or then, I mean, the first step are done, and we can probably extend this to other schools and other institutes in India. So we have in Strasbourg what we call a Programme Doctoral International, which is usually support for co-tutelle agreements or students coming via what we call our IDEX program. Anyway, this program exists, and it's for students that come from abroad, and it comes with some support, but not only. It's a program that that exists to promote, I mean, this international mobility and the contacts between countries. So, okay, I put some information of this program at the back of my presentation. I just show it quickly, but you can read it if you're interested. So I'm done, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jerome. That was a very interesting presentation, and I'm sure the recommendations you made about writing to professors and institutions would be very useful for our viewers and for students in general from India as well. So thank you so much. Moving on, we have Dr. Prof with us as well, who's the director of the Doctoral School for Earth, Planetary and Environmental Sciences. Dr. Frank, could you tell us a bit more about the school and also your experience as a professor and your recommendations?
So I will try to share my screen.
Yes, please.
Is it okay?
Yes, it's excellent. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I am Frank Plugnan, the head of the doctoral school STEP, which means in French, Science de la Terre, de l'Environnement et des Planètes. So Earth, Environment and Planet Sciences. So we are changing of name. So far the name was Terre, Univers, Environnement. But in fact, in our doctoral school, universe means planetology. So we are changing of name. So starting next year, we will be STEP. So this is a picture of the campus. So as you see, we are close to the mountains. And so the Earth activity is a part of it is related to the mountains. Okay, so we deal with geology, geodynamics, geophysics, geochemistry, oceanography, climatology, hydrology, glaciology, physical geography, and planetology. Here I put a few ranking taken from the Shanghai ranking of this year. And okay, so in earth sciences, water resources, geography, atmospheric science, oceanography, and environmental science. So the doctoral school, there are 8 laboratories which are related to our doctoral school. So the Institut des Sciences de la Terre, ISTER, which deals with mainly geophysics and chemistry of the Earth, including the deep interior of the Earth. IGE, so Institut des Géosciences de l'Environnement, which deals more with Earth climate, composition of the atmosphere, research on the hydrological cycle, and its interaction with climate and the environment. The LEGI, so which is a laboratory of geophysical flows and industrial flows, so fluid mechanics mainly. The lab called GIPSA Lab, which deals with signal processing and wave physics for the understanding and monitoring of natural environment. So IPAG, which is a planetology and astrophysical lab. So in this lab, only the team planetology is related to our doctoral school. The laboratory PACT, which deals with risk, environment, and society. And there are two teams in the lab IRSTEA, one in Grenoble, which deals mostly with snow and avalanches, and corresponding risk, and the other one, which is in Lyon, which deals mainly with hydrology and hydraulics. So our doctoral school has about 170 PhD students, and we are at least 170 researchers who have the habilitation to supervise. We, in fact, maybe there are twice more researchers, but only half of them have this habilitation. As I said, so 8 research institutes. In our doctoral school, we welcome 50% of foreigners. And as has been said by my colleagues before, a Master of Research is mandatory, which means 5 years, 2 years more after the bachelor. We have a rate of female PhD students of about 40%. Concerning the fellowships, they are coming from different sources, including the Ministry of Research in France, including Europe. We have several grants from Europe and industry. So, as has been said before, the PhD duration is 3 years. What is mandatory is to have a training of 120 hours, and the many courses are given in English, so it should not be a problem for foreigners. And in addition, there is the possibility to learn French through French learning classes. After the PhD thesis, about 80% of our former PhD students find a qualified job in academy. And so I will end maybe by these 2 last topics. First, what is a doctorate for us? So it is a training through research to research and innovation. So usually the first year is dedicated to read papers, to learn tools, techniques, to get acquainted with the scientific questionings, to find the good questions, and to define the work streams. In the second year, then you will develop and apply scientific techniques to establish new knowledge. This is the aim of the PhD, to bring new knowledge and bring some answers to the scientific questions. And of course, in the last year, you have to valorize your PhD thesis through the writing of a manuscript. It can be done in English, to write publications in the best disciplinary journals, and sometimes you can even have some patents. So to apply, it is the same process as my colleague said before. You have to look for subjects on the webpage of the doctoral school. So this is the HTTP address. So you have to read this subject to find maybe 1 or 2 which are interesting for you. And then you contact directly the supervisor, and you have to convince. This is, I think, the most difficult part. You have to convince the supervisor that you are a potential PhD student. So it means that you have to have, again, to have a Master of Research, and to have recommendation letters, and to maybe to have some to find the project which can be in agreement with this with the subjects. And of course, you will have to have a video conference with your supervisors. And then, if this is okay, then we'll start the process for the registration. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
That was a very excellent and detailed presentation, Doctor, and very useful, I'm sure, for the students who are going to be applying and probably writing to the schools in France. So definitely the inputs are very interesting and very important to keep in mind. It's also very important at this point that we hear from a real life experience of a student from India as well. So I think we can invite Dr. Unmesh Khati into our session right now. Unmesh, could you tell us, because you've been a Raman Charpak Fellowship holder as well, and you've been a visiting researcher in France at the University of Rennes, how was your experience? How did you approach your application? What is your advice to other students who are interested to pursue a research program or want to be a visiting researcher in France? And what are you doing now?
Hi, Rachit. First of all, thank you for having me in this panel. I did my PhD from Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, in remote sensing, and I specialize in remote sensing of ecosystem, mostly forest and agriculture. Prior to that, I did my master's in remote sensing itself from ISRO Center. Uh, During my PhD, I saw the ad for Raman Charpak Fellowship, and some of my colleagues recommended that I try to pursue this. It's very important that you know your research field, what you want to do, because the application is very important. It's a very concise 5-page application, and the fellowship is very competitive. To approach professors, the best way is to know somebody whom your professor can recommend. The person who works in something similar to what you are interested in. Luckily for me, I already had a few professors whose research I was following actively, and I approached them, and Professor Ferrofamil from University of Rennes graciously agreed to support me in the application. If your professors don't know, the other way is to look for professors who you read about, whose work you read about, whose work you cite during your master's research, as well as if you're already doing a PhD during your PhD research. So those professors would ideally be interested in something what you're already doing, and make a very good something which is not yet done. So you already have your master's part of your research, wherein you know that what already research is carried out globally, and what you can add on to it. So as Raman Charpak Fellowship is a relatively shorter term of research, 4 to 6 months. So the time you have to have a research program which fits during that time. You cannot propose something which would require a year to do, because you can't do that in 4 to 6 months. So that part of the application is really important, I think. I got the fellowship, and during my fellowship, it was a really enriching experience, because it was the first time for me to work abroad, and the research environment is completely different than what I was used to in India. You are expected to work during the lab hours, but after that it is completely your own time. You can utilize to go around the town, you can utilize to socialize, you can utilize to do whatever you want. So the weekends are absolutely off. You are not expected to come to the lab. And in fact, my lab was closed, so I could not do that. There are a lot of opportunities for students. So when you are a visiting researcher, you still get a student ID from universities, and you can use that to get a lot of discounts in the museums. You can go and see a movie. And also you can also get some social benefits. The French government is really liberal about that. So besides that, it was a really different culture that I could explore, and the people were really friendly. Although my knowledge of French at that time was really small, I could just order a coffee probably. But learning France, if you're going to do a PhD there, learning French would really give you a lot of benefit, although it's not compulsory. And if you try to learn even a little bit, then your colleagues around the lab would definitely help you in getting a more experience in speaking French. So that is really nice. After my PhD, I completed my PhD and then applied for a postdoctoral fellowship at NASA, and currently I work there. So the whole experience was through working at different research laboratories. I could definitely say that my experience with Raman Chapak Fellowship and experience in France really stands out, because you get to see a lot more diversity in France, because it's the European Union. You can travel widely, and I got to travel to 5-6 countries. The food is excellent. We always see the French cuisine. My advice is, if you are doing a PhD, follow the research that you do. Write to professors whom you want to work with and whom you know work in the same field as you, and be very concise on what you want to do, how you want to do it. You have to do your own homework before approaching a professor, otherwise you are wasting your own time. That's basically it. It's very nice experience. There is no, because you get paid to do your PhD, so you don't have to have the financial burden, wherein you don't have to worry about your expenses. The fellowships are very generous, and you can get to live a very nice life and have a very good academic experience. So that's my experience. Thank you.
That was really listening to as accurate as it could be. So it was really interesting and very, very fascinating, because your experience is, it contrasts what you have experienced here in India to what you saw in France, and definitely what you're seeing right now in the United States. So it's definitely quite a big contrast, and quite interesting for new researchers and applicants who want to apply for PhDs. So definitely, thank you so much for that, Vish. We must move to question and answers, and we have a lot of them, in fact. So I'm sure it will be interesting for our panelists and for our alumnus as well to answer them. The first question, which is very relevant, what we want to highlight is that is how important it is to have actually done some internships in the same field, you know, before you want to apply for a PhD program. Perhaps sorry, perhaps Dr. Jerome can answer this for us.
Yes. I mean, I tried to show, but very quickly, our institutes are really multidisciplinary, and yes, chemistry is one of the topics that are addressed to. I mean, for geoscience problems, yes, chemistry is not completely out of mind. So yes, it's appropriate, and so, but again, yes, it's important to, if you really come from the chemistry field and you want to go to geosciences, yes, as just said before by Ulmesh Kati, you have to do a little bit homework and try to address the right people that understand a little bit about chemistry, because I mean you haven't done chemistry before to do now physics. I mean, yeah, if you do that, you have to do a lot of explaining, and it's not easy. But so if you want to continue in chemistry, but in chemistry for geosciences, yes, then you have to address the right people in the institutes. But naturally, interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary research, it's what we do all the day. So it's not really a field problem. It's really a scientific question problem, and for this you need to address the right person.
That was very good and very, very excellent suggestion for our students. A lot of our students also wonder whether is it possible for them to do projects at organizations like CNES during their PhD. Perhaps Dr. Laurence Vidal, would you like to add something to that? It's what's mixed?
Yes, can you repeat the question?
Yes, absolutely. Students would like to know whether it is possible for them to do projects at organizations like CNES during the PhD.
To apply for a position, you mean, or?
To apply for a position or do a project as a part of the PhD at an organization like CNES?
CNRS, no, actually, in France, when you are a PhD student, it's difficult to apply for a project on your own. So usually it's a permanent person that is, submitting the project. Usually if you want to, it's not the same system like in the US, for example. If you have your fellowships, you are supposed to work on the same project during 3 years. And you are not supposed to write proposal on your own. So first, it's important for us to see if the student can reach this goal to achieve the research work within the 3 years, and after you can apply. The only one possibility is to do some teaching. Of course, it's not the easiest way for for a student coming from abroad, but in English it could be possible. But usually in France, students are mainly focused on their work, so that it means they can participate in projects from their supervisor, attending, of course, conferences and so on to build a network, but not really build a project by their own.
Okay, that was very interesting, and thank you so much. We have a follow-up question from our partner institutions in India as well, and it's more for all the panelists, but maybe we can start with you. We have institutions in India who want to know, how about if Indian professors who would like to collaborate with any of your institutes, who do they approach and how do they start with this?
Can someone have
Dr. Funk, Dr. Jerome, if you have any recommendations? How would Indian professors be able to actually reach out if they want to collaborate on a project with you?
We have some possibilities at the university. And we have some position as invited professeur invité, invited profs. So, for example, at Aix-Marseille, we have every year one call, and then each faculty can propose the college. So the person can obtain a visiting invitation for about 1 month with a salary, and so but that has to be built en amont before, about six months or to 1 year before, building the contact, see what kind of benefits both sides can gain, and we have this kind of call, invited professor.
Very, very good. That's quite interesting. Dr. Funk,
yes, the same in Grenoble, the same thing. Each year we have a call, and myself, I invited an Indian colleague several times already. The only thing is that there is some competition, so you have to build a research project in order that you can welcome him or her. And it is minimum 1 month.
Indian students love being in competition, so I'm sure it's definitely something they would appreciate to do as well, to reach their way all the way there. Dr. Jerome, is it similar on your side as well?
Yeah, just can add. I mean, it's like building a PhD project. I mean, it's like a collaborative project with researchers from India, or from academic positions or others. Well, yeah, I mean, contact with researcher is the first thing, and then build a common project, and then yes, and then try to find the right funding anywhere you can. So.
And another interesting question someone has, one of the viewers has, is that have you had French students come to Indian laboratories as well? Like, have you had your own students also apply in India? Perhaps Dr. Lawrence.
Yeah, it was more I know that from a topic in oceanography. Since our laboratory, CEREG, belongs also to the IRD, Institut de Recherche pour le Développement, and they are based in Goa, for example, the French IRD. And there are some exchange between France and India in this field through this institution. Yeah, many others. In our lab, I have a colleague. Yes, he spent 1 year in Bangalore a couple of years ago. Yes, there has been some exchange in this way, France to India.
Excellent. That's very interesting. Dr. Franck, Dr. Jerome, have you had any?
Yes, yes, we have some colleagues who are geologists and who collaborate with India in Himalaya or things like this to make some ground. They pick up some rocks and so on in order to analyze them.
Okay. Okay, that's very good analysis. Dr. Jerome, do you have something to add here?
Well, I don't know a lot of really active collaboration with Indian institutes and so on. But certainly, yes, India is a target for geological fieldwork and many fields. This I know. I've been to India also to do some field work. So, but it's more in this sense. But I don't know really like really active collaboration with institute, with student exchange. I mean, this has to be built, I think. Yeah.
Very good. And we have another question for our alumnus as well. So, Dr. Ilmesh, it's something about after doing a PhD in earth sciences or a similar field, if you do decide to come back to India and find a job in academia or a similar industry, how is the experience? Do you think the field is very open-minded? Is it restricted in India? Is it easy for a researcher who has had international experience like you to come back to India and then collaborate with organizations or laboratories?
Yes, actually, it's an advantage if you have experience outside India. So it's your field of work broadens and you work in a multidisciplinary workforce. So the Indian institutes, the universities also encourage the people who have degree or at least some experience from abroad to come and join them. So it's definitely an advantage to do a PhD in France.
Very good. Thank you so much. The final remarks we would like to bring in, but before we do that, we have one more question for all of our panelists, and maybe you can give us some insight about it. Is that when a student does a PhD in France, does it require a lot of field work? Is there a lot of field work involved while they're pursuing? And do you think it has changed a bit with the COVID-19 in place this year? And how will it be for researchers in the coming months or next year who would like to come back? Maybe we can start with Dr. Jerome and move on the way.
Yeah, well, yes. I think certainly research is now strongly impacted by the fact that we cannot travel freely and so on. Fortunately, the laboratories and the experiments in the labs are working, and a lot of means have been put, in the universities and in the institutes to make it possible. So, but yes, fieldwork is impacted, and I had plans to go to the United States to do some fieldwork. Yes, this is shut down, and certainly we don't know when it will be open again. And so starting a PhD today with a lot of field campaigns, yeah, it's probably not the best, the best thing I would do now, but it may change in 6 months, so who knows.
It is quite a testing time indeed. Dr. Lawrence, what is your take on this? A lot of students want to know if there will be fieldwork or not before they decide on applying or not. The microphone's off, sorry.
It's depending on the subject of the PhD. If you are dealing more with modeling, you might spend sometimes in your office behind your computer, and yeah, it's really depends. Usually in earth science, yeah, it belongs to the experience to go on the field and to see how to sample. That's a very important point. The strategy for collecting the sample. That's part of the science also. That's part of the question you are working on. And yeah, if we can, we usually the students are required to go on the field and to collect their own sample before analyzing them. But that's in general. Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, for future applicants, it's something definitely encouraging and motivating to also continue with what they intend to do. Dr. Franck, is it similar on your side as well?
Yes, there have been some field work which has been either cancelled or postponed to hopefully next year. Otherwise, what I can say is that the situation in France is at the moment is okay to work in the labs, either numerical or experimental work, depending on, for experimental work, it depends on which kind of experiments. For example, the huge instruments like a synchrotron in Grenoble, the different campaigns are not always possible. Yes, I think we all hope that if you start a PhD thesis in 2021, in September or October, we all hope that the things will be different.
Definitely, I think we're holding on to hope. That's our biggest, strong demeanor right now, and that's what we're really hoping that will help us in the future as well. I think we're over time, and it's time to bring a close to this session. But I want to extend a big thank you to all our 3 panelists and our alumnus today. Your insights have been extremely valuable, very, very diligently told, and extremely useful for our future students and researchers and industrial partners as well. I'm sure they will benefit, and they will be in touch with you, or probably will write to you in the ways you recommended and suggested that an email should be sent across. And definitely we want to build on more capacity in earth and space sciences in the near future as well, between India and France both. So thank you so much for being a part of our webinar today, and thank you for your presence as well. Ankita, do you have any remarks to add before we close?
Just the fact that I'm really happy that we got a platform to discuss all these different initiatives and different possibilities that you have, because this is such a niche field. Even in India, we don't have many people who really knows about this field, and the good thing, another good thing is, because of that, there are not many institutes which are like offering it in a very transverse manner. So for the same reason, the students who are coming from India, applying for PhD in this field, are coming from very, very good institutes. So the quality is there, though the quantity is not there that much as of now. But I think by encouraging students and showing them and opening the doors to them to this fantastic field will add on to that. So I hope this tour has been informative to all the students who have been watching, and also to the faculty, to get some tips and information about how to go about it in a much more larger collaborative way. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, panelists, for such an interesting session and answering all the questions, of course.
We sincerely thank everyone who has stayed with us through the PhD tour. For us, since we organized it on part of the French Institute in India and the French Embassy in India. It's a pleasure to have all the panelists and to meet different professors over this week and to get to know a lot more about doctoral studies and pursuing a PhD in France. So thank you so much for your presence. I wish you all a very nice evening ahead.